May 28th, 2024, at 7:05 p.m. We are called to order. Would all please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone has received a copy of the agenda. Are there any revisions or corrections to the agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of approval say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The agenda is approved as distributed. Moving on to approval of the minutes. The minutes appear on pages 7 through 10 of the packet. Are there any revisions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved as distributed. We now have a public hearing. Public hearing has been scheduled at this time to receive public input regarding a subdivision plat, the preliminary and final plat of Traverse Green Townhomes. The subject property is located at 2021 Essler Drive. The proposed plat shows one lot being split into two appropriately sized residential lots that will host one triplex and one duplex. And so we'll have the public hearing now, and then the approval of the plats, the preliminary and final will be under new business, correct? Okay. All right, well, we'll kick it off with Ben.
All right, thank you, Mayor Noel and members of the council. The staff report that I'll be referring to starts on page 49. And as the mayor said, then later in the agenda after the public hearing, you would actually look at agenda item D, would be when you consider approval of this particular plat. So starting in the middle section of page 49, back in 2016, Traverse Green was developed. In that, there was 59 single-family lots and then 2 multifamily lots. So on the west side, last year, the council decided that 0.72 acres, just due to the way that Traverse Green was going, the lack of interest in multifamily in Traverse Green at that time, and then the need for single-family housing, the council had decided that that one western side multifamily lot would be split into 2 15,000 square foot lots, and then on the east side of Cook Street, 2 more lots would be developed. Since then, that was a good decision. 3 lots, 3 homes are up and now being lived in, and then the 4th one now will be developed this summer. So that was a really good move by the city. But then that left one more multifamily lot over on Essler Drive on the east side, same size, 0.72 acres. But at that time last year, the council had decided that it would be a good idea to reserve that as multifamily and keep that in that neighborhood. And it was a good thing that that decision was made, because earlier this year we met with Adam Hiras. He's a developer from Mankato that has extensive experience in creating affordable housing. He's a developer, realtor, builder, and he did express interest in this particular property and some other properties in town. So after reviewing this, he did decide to reserve its 2 lots, 2021 and 2019 Essler. And what his thought was is either doing townhomes or some combination of triplexes and duplexes. So after reviewing this with staff and looking at the zoning ordinance and the city engineer surveyor, we found out that it was Torrance property. So in order to do a split and kind of create what's shown on the screen there, a triplex and 2 duplexes, it was proposed to do a split by plat. So the state does allow us to do both a preliminary and final plat at the same time. So this particular one, a preliminary plat does require a public hearing, which is what's happening now. The applicant is ALH, or Adam Hiras Land Company. The surveyor for this project is Bolton and Mink. The zoning is R3, and there is appropriate sewer, water, access. There's street, there's curb and gutter, there's stormwater And there's electricity all to the site. It's shovel ready and ready to go. So essentially what this plat is doing is just doing a lot split, creating an appropriate sized lot on the north side and the south side to allow for a triplex, which has 14-foot setbacks, and then a duplex, which has 7-foot setbacks. So I guess there's some attachments showing exactly where this property is and the concept plan, and then the preliminary plat is shown with the aerial photo, and then the final plat is shown with a white background. We also do have the applicant and the surveyor here tonight if you want to hear from them. Otherwise, that concludes from staff's report.
Thanks very much, Ben. Any questions at this point, or if you'd like to come forward and make any remarks, that's fine as well.
Only if you have questions, I'd be happy to try and answer those.
All right, any questions? All right, in that case, we are going to, oh, I didn't open the public hearing, did I? Or at least I didn't read the time.
Right.
But we will close the public hearing at 7:11 p.m. Thanks, Ben. Moving on to visitor comments. We have time on our agenda to hear from visitors. The first item would be for visitors who would like to make comments on agenda items. I don't see any visitor who'd like to do that. We also have time for general visitor comments. Is there any visitor who'd like to address the council on any matter whatsoever? Hearing none, we will move on to the approval of the consent agenda. The consent agenda begins on page 12 of the packet and includes and concludes on with the resolution that is on pages 32 through 33 of the packet. The consent agenda includes the following items. The street signage request shall be approved for a handicap parking designation on West Gray Street near the corner of South 3rd Street. The following employee appointments shall be made. We have a list of lifeguards, and their wage will be $14.25. I will not read the full list. It is available in the packet. The following change in title will be made. Ella Gilbertson, head guard, at a wage of $18. The following temporary and annual license renewals will be approved. This include I will not read the full list, which is available in the packet. It includes temporary on-sale liquor, tree worker, 3-2 off-sale beer, off-sale liquor, on-sale liquor, Sunday liquor, brewer off-sale malt liquor, as well as the schedule of disbursements for May 9th, 2024 through May 21st, 2024. Are there any questions or discussion regarding any item on the consent agenda? Brad?
So I have a question on the handicap parking space designation. I know there's going to be painting done on the spot, but my question is the spot going to be widened at all so that essentially, or is it going to be, or is there going to be enough space for people to exit the vehicle who need it? I guess I'm concerned about enough space on each side of the vehicle for an adequate.
If you don't mind, I'll defer
Yep.
to Pete, your Public Works Director. He can give you a better answer than I can on that issue.
Sure. What we'll do, we'll take a look at the parking stall itself, see how far we are from the inside or the radius of the intersection. And then if we need to, we'll black out the white line, create the handicap space, slide it over so that we have enough room to meet that requirement.
Okay.
One thing I can add on this is you guys probably remember we have done other handicapped areas by request at the cost of the property owners. Since there isn't a handicapped parking in this area and it is near where we would put one for our customers, this will be at our expense.
Thank you.
I actually have a follow-up question. Where's the closest, like, break in the curb for a wheelchair to go up?
Yep, at that intersection.
So they're gonna have to go to the intersection to get up?
Yes, yep,
10 feet.
Right.
yep.
Yep. This would be the first stall around the radius, that curb
Yep.
radius. Which is typically, that's where we typically like to see them.
Right.
Any additional questions, as long as we've got Pete? All right, anything else on the consent agenda, questions or discussion? Hearing nothing further, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. We have no items of new business or old business tonight, but we have many items of new business. The first of which is a resolution approving the purchase of Infor software upgrade for Rivers Edge Hospital and Clinic, and Paula's here to talk to us about that.
Hi, thank you. It's been a while since I've been down, so I thought I'd come with something that's exciting for us, but not very fancy
Yes.
on paper. The hospital is actually recommending the purchase of an upgrade to our Infor software, which actually takes care of our financial packet as well as our materials information. So the people in materials management their ordering and invoicing and their inventory off of that. This is a very old software, and this is out of date in terms of support from Infor. So we are looking to upgrade. This is the minimum that we can do to become current with the software. Currently, this won't bring us to the most current version, which is cloud-based, which would be $1.2 million to do that. So the hospital is recommending updating to this application at the cost of $103,440. This would be paid for with cash from the hospital funds. There's no fancy pictures to show you.
Oh. Any questions for Paula? Hearing nothing further, resolution approving purchase of Infor software upgrade for Rivers Edge Hospital and Clinic is on page 35 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Thanks
Thank you.
very much, Paula. Next up, a resolution awarding applicants for the 2024 Accessibility Improvement Grant. Hi, Ben.
Hi. Thank you, Mayor and members. This particular item starts on page 36. So if you remember back earlier this year, the council authorized the 2024 ADA or Accessibility Improvement Grant Program. And that program was funded with approximately $45,000 this year. In that, the city then, after getting that authorization, city staff decided to send out notices to each individual business that was that applied or was applicable to these guidelines, and we also advertised for it on the city's website. After a few months of advertising and getting in applications, we ended up getting 9 applicants this year. If you look on the top of page 37, over the last 4 or 5 years now, we've had over 50 applicants, and then have awarded quite a few over the last few years as well. So with that, then on April 12th, that was the deadline. Came and we had those 9 applicants. We then formed a review committee. So on page 38, there was a review committee of 7 people, and those 7 people actually had guidelines or criteria that they looked to help determine project eligibility and ranking of the projects. That committee on April 24th decided to recommend a little over $31,000 worth, or 4 of the 9 applicants. From that was a recommendation. They actually brought that to the EDA, and on May 1st, the EDA recommended approving 1 more, and that would also include the state apartments, and that was totaling a little over $35,000. There is a resolution tonight on page 40 that includes the 5 applicants out of the 9. And I just need to note that this program was originally designed for commercial businesses in order to help people get into the businesses. A lot of these are automatic door openers or ramps or things of that nature. So the estate apartments was one that was discussed. That probably doesn't meet the guidelines for this particular program, but it was recommended by the EDA. They had quite a bit of discussion on that. But I just want to make sure that was noted, that it probably wouldn't be recommended by staff to approve that one, but the EDA did recommend that adding that particular apartment. So I guess if you have any questions, Todd or I would be happy to answer those.
Josh?
Yeah, so there's, what, $12,000 that we're not using, that we have available for this?
Yep, so the reason for, and we have 2 EDA members here tonight as well, but there was some applications that were essentially incomplete or out of date, that were some concerns. Other ones that already had equipment installed in one of their other doors. So when they go through these, they'll kind of rank them and then put some at the bottom, as you can see on page 38. And the lower tier ones, they wanted to save that money for future years instead of awarding those projects.
Daryl?
No,
Oh, sorry. Dustin and then Brad.
I was just going to say, I got an email actually from one of the recipients today, very gracious for the program, and this program continues to be very successful for the community.
Brad?
So yeah, I'll speak basically on the estate apartments. There was a lot of discussion. Do we want to go down this road with residential property? A big factor, in deleting it as well as there was so much money, there was so much space available between what we had allocated for the program and the top 4 items. That there was 14,000. We looked at the building itself, the age of the building, the tenants who live there, and the question is, if this was like the Rokelofts, would we do it there? Well, that's where the review committee comes in, and you would look and say, well, this is a new development. They had the opportunity to do it when they were constructing it, whereas this is an older building. A lot of older residents live there, we aren't going over and above the amount we allocated for the program this year, and even with this allocation, we have $10,000 to carry over to the next year. So, I was very much in favor of allocating to the estate apartments for those various reasons, and that is one of the things you brought up is we have the review committee to make the recommendations. So,
Any other discussion?
So the 10,000 just rolls over to the next year?
Typically, so the way that it's funded each year is all of our revolving loan funds have interest earned. So Sally gives us that number at the beginning of the year, and this year it was $45,000 worth of interest, and so that's what we've gone with historically. But there has been, I think, on page 39, there was like $2,400 that hasn't been used in previous. So yeah, you could essentially add that to next year's.
I'm just curious if it makes more sense to spend the money this year on one of these if it's just an application issue, but actually would be a good use of the money. I don't really think we need I don't know. I'm not here to police whether someone can fill out an application correctly.
Brad?
I'll answer that one. So part of the thing with Go Therapy as well, I even said, I like what Go Therapy is doing is we do have deadlines, and a lot of this was they ended up defaulting to last year's application. So we weren't sure if the pricing was accurate. Also, we had wanted two quotes, and I believe they only had 1 quote. And beyond that, Go Therapy is in the process of still continuing to seek out other sites. So the question is, are we going to be putting something in? So they'll have an opportunity to apply next year. And at this point, I was comfortable with not going ahead with what Go Therapy was asking for this year. So.
Can I ask a follow-up question before you jump in? I guess my question was what the rationale was, if there's a good, strong rationale that estate apartments and places like estate apartments should have access to these funds, what's the rationale for dealing with it kind of on a one-off manner rather than saying, hey, we should have a program also that serves residential places like this? Was that part of the discussion, or are we concerned about the precedent that sets, and next year will we expect a lot more applications from similar places? I guess I'm not personally comfortable necessarily approving something that didn't meet the criteria, because then other people who also didn't meet the criteria didn't have the opportunity to apply. Was there discussion about that?
Oh, for sure, yes.
Okay.
Yep. yeah, was setting a precedence and just, you know, there's definitely the money available through this program, but this program was set up for the businesses. But yeah, as Councilmember DeVos said, there was definitely discussion on allowing for this type, because there is a review committee that can take the criteria and make that decision.
Although the review committee didn't recommend this.
They did not, the EDA did,
Yeah,
yes.
Carrie.
Yeah, so I think it's also for context. It's Ben had shared the story that the reason Estate Apartments heard about this program is because a contractor who was talking to them about these improvements had done this for another business through this program.
Sure.
And so, yeah, I think you have a really good point. I don't know that we would be flooded with housing applicants necessarily, and if we did, again, we have this review committee process and then it goes through the EDA. I think I guess I got the sense from the EDA that primarily just looking at the age of the building and the tenants who live there, it seemed very warranted. But yeah, I can understand that discomfort with setting a precedent. But you know, we talked about it a lot, and I think we had sound judgment and,
Yep.
and are not fearful that we're setting a precedent or it's going to cause feelings in the community necessarily.
Sure. Brad.
And just to add to what Carrie said, as part of the EDA discussion, it was, you know, if we get these in the future, these would still potentially, the residential ones would still rank as a lower priority than businesses. And the reason why, and basically, you know, as I say, the amount of money we had available this year, left over after the EDA recommendations, and it wasn't necessarily that the review committee recommended these ones and then said these are they put them in tiers for a reason, and that was for the EDA to review.
Well, and
So that, sorry, I was
No,
just gonna
go
say,
ahead. Yeah.
so that's why they said, they threw it back at the EDA and said, these are the other ones, you know, and looking at GO Therapy, do we wanna do GO Therapy? And Ben explained everything with the application issues. And then with the estate apartments, how they had a complete application, but it was a new thing. So it wasn't so much a we're not recommending it as a you make the call, that's the way the review committee threw it to us was.
That's how I understood it
Yeah.
as well.
I mean, I guess my feeling would be that if the EDA is going to make these recommendations in the future, that it should be systematic and not dealt with on a one-off basis. If the EDA thinks this is worthy, if the EDA thinks this is economic development or supports economic development, then the application process should be revised to include places like estate apartments, because if it's not, then why are we approving it? So,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not
I would
gonna
agree with
hold up, I don't wanna hold up approval of all of them based on my concerns about one, but I would be reluctant to continue, well, I'm reluctant to approve the one because it doesn't meet the criteria. If I'm the only one who feels that way, then we'll all vote in that way, and I won't hold up approving all of them just because I have reservations about one, but I would want the EDA to, in the future, endorse a change to process. If they do think that this is worthy and something that they should support and under the umbrella of economic development, then I'd like to see that change made. Carrie?
Yeah, and I guess in terms of order of operations, Ben, so the next time that this program would come up, it really does go through the council first, so that's perhaps something that we could discuss
Sure.
as if we reauthorize the program.
I think that you're right about that process, and I do think that there is a need. So I'm not saying that it probably wasn't a request that had some very good points to it. But Todd, I don't think you got to.
If I can
Make your point
address
as well.
2 points, first of all, related to the funding and how that works, the dollars do not accrue over. The council approves funding each and every year when the program is initiated. So if we're expecting $43,000 in interest, any remaining dollars from a staff perspective will not be added on to that for the 2025 year. But certainly the council can make that determination going forward. any dollars that aren't spent here, and it's never been the council's, at least from my perspective, it's never been the council's goal to let's spend everything that we have. These dollars still will continue to be in your economic development funds. Related to housing or related to investment in economic development and businesses. From a staff perspective, if the council wants to move in this direction, at least from my chair, I would strongly recommend that you view separate funding for housing and economic development. You have separate housing dollars within your grasp, in your checking account, to be able to use for housing programs. And I'm not saying you shouldn't approve this. We have an obligation, ethical obligation, to tell you when something doesn't fit within that current criteria. You guys get to decide whether you're going to spend it or not spend it. But from a go-forward basis, we would recommend that anything you do with housing come out of those housing dollars, not economic development authority dollars. It's important to keep those pots separate. We do have federal and state auditing and regulation that occurs related to this. I have no idea whether this would be approved or not approved. I don't know. But you do have resources to do both of those if you want to do that into the future. That doesn't mean you have to do the economic development program into the future. This was never designed to be a forever program, and one could infer that based on the fewer applications that you've seen this year as compared to previous years, you've kind of hit the saturation in the market. Maybe there's a few left. And people make applications for all kinds of different reasons. But I would encourage you to segregate those dollars into the future if that's your goal forward.
And this, unlike, I'm thinking of the grants that we allocate through the Tourism Visitors Bureau, there are state ordinances that govern that. This is sort of internal to the city, so there's not any, we're not in violation of any sort of law.
I don't know that you're in violation of any certain law, but certainly you've received housing dollars in the past and you've received economic development dollars in the past. And so those are two separate pots of money with two different sets of priorities relative to why those funds and how those funds were provided to you. Again, I don't think for $3,700 this is a big issue, other than we're obligated to point these things out to you, and you're not obligated to, but we look to the council to make decisions relative to the use of these funds.
Brad?
So I'm not going to discuss state apartments, but I'd just like it noted that the EDA did discuss, and the hope was that this $10,000 would carry over into next year. So I just want it noted that
Sure.
that's an expectation we're looking at next year, is to have this additional $10,000. Part of the decision-making process as to why we didn't go forward with these other ones that, well, particularly like Go Therapy, which didn't have a complete application, was because we said, well, they can come back next year. We'll have this pot of money available next year. So I just want that noted, that when we're discussing how much we have available next year, to look at adding 10,000 to
Okay, but we
to
can't,
the interest.
but we can't, that can't be promised to the
No, I'm just
ADA
saying.
because that's a-
Well, all I'm saying is I want it noted that that was the expectation, not part of the resolution, just noted in the minutes what the EDA.
The
expectation
program
was.
doesn't stipulate from its beginning that those dollars will be carried over. New allocation will be provided each year. We'll remember that. You guys will remember that. It's not a problem. We're happy to provide for that and say that the council asked us to make sure that this was mentioned. Not a problem.
Yep, that's all I'm looking for.
Carrie?
Before we determine, or the council determines that this has been saturated, would we do another audit just to see where we're at with businesses? That was really part of the genesis of why we did this program, looking at Eileen Holt's audit of businesses. It'd be interesting to stack up what we've done compared to that, or what we see today.
I think we certainly could do that. I think you're going to get a feel. I don't know what the lifespan of this program is, whether it's 1 more year or 10 more years, but I think the number of applicants gives you a very clear picture. Just because there's a need doesn't necessarily mean that a building owner is of want in that or makes application. And so we see that in all kinds of things that we do. And so I don't think the sole source of data would be whether all buildings meet that criteria. I think that's part of it, but not the only thing related to whether you determine whether it goes forward. And it's not my suggestion that you stop this in the near future. You have great applicants, lots of utilization. It's a wonderfully thought of program, not only within your community, but when we have other communities that stop and see, how did you do this? How is this working? What's the basis for this? They're just amazed that a city is providing these kind of resources to building owners to assist in economic development within your community. It's a big deal. when, as we talked about the data, upwards of 10% of your population, based on census data at any given time, is physically handicapped and would be unable to get up a step or two or three or four. And so it's a wonderful program, year by year, year by year.
Further discussion?
The resolution does carry forward the recommendation from the EDA. We are also obligated to carry forward the recommendation of the Economic Development Authority. And so that's our obligation and how the rules work for us, for you.
I will make a motion to approve the resolution as is.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Councilmember Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Moving on, a resolution approving North Industrial Park Subdivision Number 3 preliminary plat, City of St. Peter. Hi, Ben.
Hi, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. The North Industrial Park was developed back in 2002. Essentially, it's a business park and medical campus is what it's turned into. There is approximately 125 acres in this business park, but it does host 36 acres of vacant land or future development land. The purpose of the park was for business growth, to create jobs, generate utility, and then balance the tax base, and then serve community needs. Over the past few months, city staff has been working with various groups interested in purchasing land in the North Industrial Park. And on the middle of page 42, it shows those 4 businesses that we've been working with. One would be an apartment complex needing about 5 acres, a mini storage area needing about 2.7 acres, a commercial office storage needing 2.4 acres, and then an indoor agriculture or warehouse building of 1.5 acres. It was found that Outlot F and Outlot C, which are on the very west-hand side of the North Industrial Park, so that's 18 acres and 3 acres respectively, would be like the perfect location for splitting these lots out and creating a project for 4 different parcels. The city staff did review over time concept plans for each of these 4 businesses. And based on that, we handed that over to our city engineer surveyor, and they have since come up with a plat that adequately serves the site needs for each of those businesses, accounting for green space and setbacks and building size and parking lots and of that nature. So we are also working on a development agreement with St. Peter Land LLC. And as part of that development agreement, the city's responsibility is to create a plat. So it was really great timing that in this particular instance, it would be Lot 1 there, highlighted by Todd. We could save a lot of time and money by approving 4 lots for all 4 businesses at the same time. So that's what is before you tonight. In this particular case, unlike the one we had it for the public hearing, is just a preliminary plat. So the owner of this property obviously is the city. The city engineer and surveyor is Bolton and Mink. Just to note that over the last 2 years, the city has actually started paying property tax on these parcels. So since 2002, there's been no property taxes, but there was $23,000 and then $22,000 now paid for the 23 and 24. The zoning for this property is I-1. There is currently to the southern third on Klein Street available street, curb, gutter, sewer, water, everything, electricity. Those are ready to go lots. They're actually north of Mason Street towards where the MnDOT truck station is going to go. That is a project that you'll be reviewing or potentially approving a bid for to let Klein Street go forward, and then bringing street, curb, gutter, water, sewer, everything up to those lots as well. There is some maps attached here on page 45 showing kind of exactly where that's at in the North Industrial Park, and then the preliminary plat is also attached with a white background showing the current and future Klein Street. So with that, the resolution is on page 47.
Questions for Ben? I'm curious what prompted the change so that the city is now paying property taxes on this?
It's part of the state law related to developable property of this type.
Okay.
So the time has expired.
Oh, sure.
That's what's
sure.
happened.
Gotcha.
Yeah. If I can, Madam
Yeah.
Mayor. Ben, if I could ask, so what's normally in St. Peter, we do that preliminary plat, and then shortly thereafter, we do the final plat, sometimes in the same meeting.
Right.
So what's the advantage of just doing the preliminary plat now and doing the final plat later?
So typically, if you would approve this preliminary plat, you usually get about a year to kind of approve that final plat. That just gives us time to sure up some of those lot sizes, what exactly is going in. Maybe one of those businesses might decide to go to a different location. So then we would just maybe have 3 lots. But it's just setting the stage for a final plat. Whereas in the townhomes that you heard earlier with the preliminary and final, that project is really shored up, ready to go. In fact, if it's approved, it probably will start building here in a few weeks or whatever, once they close on the land. Where this, there's just a few more unknowns, but it's pretty sure, but not quite there. It's just preliminary yet.
Sure.
So Ben, if I was interested in lot number 2 as an example, and whatever square footage this is, I know it says on there, let's say it's 10,000 square feet or whatever. But in the final analysis, I come to you as the developer and I say, I really want 11,000. Do we have to start the whole preliminary plat process over and do it all over again?
Right, yeah, that's what the preliminary part's for, is just to get us in the ballpark, but we can make little adjustments to make it work for individual businesses.
So
when
it
we
makes it move faster
Correct.
in that final stage.
Right.
And when we see the final plat, it could be slightly revised from this.
Right, so if this is approved, hopefully we'd see a final plat, kind of based on the discussions I've had with some of the businesses, probably in between later June and early August.
Thank you, Ben.
Additional questions for Ben? Brad?
No questions, just a comment. So, in planning and zoning overall, we did have one no vote because it was somebody who questioned whether, we should be putting apartments there. And we did actually have, basically, I'm guessing it must have been all, if not all, most of the residents who live in the township to the west, that properties in the township directly to the west of this property, expressed concerns about having an apartment building there. And similar concerns we've heard in the past in other apartment developments. But overall, Planning and Zoning Commission felt that this was the right way to go. So this isn't the first multifamily facility going in there. We've got our senior facilities, we've got Solus on the other side. And I think the fact that it's being stacked, so it's not right next to an industrial site, we'll have it, right now it's set to be storage. I think a lot of thought has gone into it, so it did pass with only one dissenting vote. So.
Thank you. Additional comments or questions? Hearing none, the resolution approving North Industrial Park Subdivision Number 3 preliminary plat, City of St. Peter, is on pages 47 through 48 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Next up, a resolution approving Traverse Green Townhomes preliminary and final plat.
All right, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. This is the public hearing that we had earlier in the meeting. So the Planning Commission did review this back on May 2nd and did recommend approval of both the preliminary and final plat. Again, this would be, the subdivision here is really just of 2021 Esler, splitting that in two, allowing for a triplex and a duplex. The applicant or property owner, future property owner, is actually looking at doing another duplex just to the south as well, so it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units total, but 5 units for this particular split. So on page 56 is the preliminary plat, and then on the following page 58 would be the final plat.
Questions for Ben? I know he covered a lot in the earlier in the meeting, but any follow-up questions? Hearing nothing further, the resolution approving Traverse Green Townhomes preliminary plat is on pages 56 through 57 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Sharstrom.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Any discussion before we move on to resolution of the approval of the final plat? Hearing nothing, resolution approving Traverse Green Townhomes final plat is on pages 58 through 59 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Next up, resolution approving Traverse Green subdivision number 3 preliminary plat, City of St. Peter. Deja vu.
Thank you, Mayor Noel and members of the council. If you don't want to go through the staff report, if you want to look at the fancy maps, they're on page 64 and 65, showing where it's at and what this will become. But essentially, over the last couple decades, the city of St. Peter has been very proactive and done a good job of developing residential neighborhoods. Nicollet Meadows in the early 2000s, Washington Terrace in the mid 2000s, and then your latest Traverse Green back in 2016, 2017. The first two were very successful due to the housing boom that was going on at that time. Traverse Green has taken a little longer to take off, but here recently it really has been taking off. So right now you had 59 original lots there, and then there was those 4 added like we talked about earlier in the meeting. Really there's 27 vacant, but there's only really 7 available lots in Traverse Green right now. So if you look kind of at the bottom of page 60, you can see that we have 20 reserved lots, and then just 7 available. And of those, there really isn't much for large or medium-sized lots. So those were all designed on the Building Better Neighborhoods design, which was a good design as it has been successful over the years. But as we move forward, we also are lacking in our medium and large size lots, and just lots overall. The city has been experiencing a shortage of these single family lots, not only in Traverse Green but throughout the city. We try to have a 2 to 3 year inventory is a good rule of thumb when we're looking at having enough places for people to build or have spots for builders to develop. The city does currently own 46 acres north of Traverse Green, and this would be kind of south of the Traverse Green Apartments and to the west of County Road 20, Nicollet Avenue. So over the years, with encouragement from the St. Peter Development Corp and some different concepts that have been proposed, just here over the last half year, there was kind of a concept that landed, and that the preliminary plat is based on that concept of essentially 38 to 44 single family lots. In late 2023, the city met with Miller Homes, and that ended up being a really good partnership. And in March of 2024, we actually entered into a development agreement with Miller Homes. They're very excited about this project. They're doing well right now in the current Traverse Green number 1 and Traverse Green number 2. And so they want to continue their project and have lots available. So they had agreed to doing 26 of these lots in the proposed 3rd edition, and they've also agreed to pay for 20% of the engineering costs, and that would be for putting in Cullen Street. So hopefully here in July-ish, the city engineer will be bringing in bids for the Cullen Street project if this goes forward. But it is essential before those plans can be completed that we have to have a plat in order to figure out lot sizes, both width and lot sizes, so that they can put the proper sewer and water stubs into those lots. So this, again, similar to earlier in the meeting, is a preliminary plat only. subject to some minor changes if we come forward with a final plat if this is approved. But again, the City of St. Peter is the landowner. The survey engineer is Bolton and Mink. This is R3 zoning, and it does allow for these particular lots. These would be kind of 10,000 square foot and above, most of them. There is proposed to be sidewalk on both sides of the road, sewer and water and electric available to each of the lots. So with that, the Planning Commission did look at this at their last meeting and recommended approval of the proposed preliminary plat for Traverse Green number 3. Be happy to answer any questions if anybody's got any.
Questions for Ben? Or any discussion? Daryl?
The land north of Clark Street, that land swap, is that taking place already then?
It is, we have the deed, and I'm not sure where Jim is on that. I know it's in the process of being, we have a signed deed and it's just going through the recording process right now.
Okay, thank you.
Additional questions? Hearing nothing further, the resolution approving Traverse Green subdivision number 3 preliminary plat, City of St. Peter, is on pages 66 through 67 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Next up, a resolution approving an amendment to the Economic Development Authority revolving loan program guidelines.
All right, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Due to the nature of gap financing, many of the EDA's revolving loans present extra risk. In the past, the EDA has set revolving loan interest rates based on the following: the prime rate, risk, collateral, and benefit to the city. Over the years, this has resulted in a variation of interest rates assigned to business loans based on the EDA's recommendation. As you can see on page 68, just recently, there's been a variety of different interest rates given for different types of loans and different backed loans. Therefore, to provide further guidance and enhance uniformity when reviewing loans and determining interest rates, both the EDA and the EDA Loan Review Committee, which is made up of bankers as well, has recommended the following addition or amendment to the guidelines. And that would be non-real estate secured loans should be set at the prime rate. And then on top of page 69, real estate secured loans should be set at 2% under the prime rate. So just recognizing that if it's real estate backed or secured, that that could set us up for a 2% under that prime rate. So the EDA did recommend this at their last meeting, and then attached, shown in red on page 71, is the actual amendment that would be implemented into the guidelines for that revolving loan program. So be happy to answer any questions. We also have EDA members here too.
Thanks, Ben. Brad?
I'd just like to say, part of this, this recommendation really was driven by the two bankers on the EDA, because they've expressed a discomfort of being the ones who have to make the decisions on the interest rate. They do a good job, they do their best, but in the end, you know, it comes before the EDA, and then, you know, and I've raised questions before. It's like, why are you doing this interest rate like this or that? And this way, it gives us a set process versus people, you know, questioning why we're doing things a certain way. I think, and as I say, it was the two bankers that are on the EDA are the ones who are really who brought this forth, because their lack of comfort of actually being the ones who are recommending the interest rate.
Sure.
So it does still provide the flexibility. Say the city had a child care center or something that they wanted to do a no interest loan, we can deviate from it, but this is putting in place an expectation as to what we should do, and anything beyond that would be an actual deviation from. There should be a good reason for a deviation. So.
Okay. Carrie, did I see your hand? No? No? Okay. Any other comments or discussion? All right, hearing nothing further, the resolution approving an amendment to the Economic Development Authority revolving loan program guidelines is on page 77 through 78 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis,
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld,
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom,
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos,
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye, the resolution is approved. And we're almost halfway through new business tonight, so.
Well, I'm here to speed things up.
All right.
Thanks, Pete, we're relying on you.
Looks like a controversial one here.
We're talking about a resolution authorizing an amendment to the T-Mobile lease on our Broadway water tower. And
Right.
Pete's here now, so.
Madam Mayor and City Council, very straightforward. T-Mobile's been a good partner of ours for numerous years. They have equipment installed on the Broadway water tower. We've been through several amendments. Kind of the process works this way. They come in and tell us they want to do an upgrade. They supply all of the equipment. They show us how they're going to attach it to our water tower. We work with our engineer to make sure that everything is structurally sound, that the tower's painted right when they do make the equipment change. And then we have an amendment fee based on what they're trying to serve as far as capacity. In the past, we've done a variety of different things with them, continue to step things up. And as you can see here, this will increase their monthly fee by $150 a month. And their total is listed there on the sheet. And so annually, you know, that's pretty good size income for part of your water tower. We also have two other companies that are on our water tower. Verizon is on our water tower, and then ham radios are on there. And ham radios, of course, we use during emergencies and communicate with a variety of different options there. What we're asking you tonight is to approve the amendment, allow staff to process that, and then approve the resolution, and we will go forward with making this happen for T-Mobile.
All right, questions for Pete? Carrie?
When was the last time they upgraded?
Oh, boy. I don't know the exact date, but it was probably about 3 years ago.
Is that pretty common for these providers to update every couple of years?
Technology changes and they figure out how to serve more customers in the same space, and that's why we want that amendment in there so that every time they bring something to us, we can add a little income to that. They're serving much more customers now than they originally did, and we've seen no impacts from it, so they, like I said, they're a good customer to have.
Thank you.
Additional questions or comments? Hearing nothing further, a resolution authorizing amendment to T-Mobile lease on Broadway water tower is on page 82 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion and a second?
Second.
All right, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Pettis,
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld,
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom,
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos,
Aye.
Mayor Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
All right, the resolution is
Thank you.
approved. Thanks, Pete. Moving on to a resolution approving a city request for Gustavus Adolphus College Alumni Community Event.
Mayor, members, this is something that you've processed previously over the past few years. It starts on page 83. This would provide assistance to a division of Gustavus Adolphus College for an alumni event that is held in the First National Bank parking lot. They have access to the alley and electricity and a few other things there. I want to be very clear about this, though. We don't make the connection. Anyone that comes forward and uses your facilities, they are required to have a master electrician. Your electric linemen don't do that work, and so they have to provide that work. We provide supervision, make sure everything's safe related to the transformer itself or the interconnection, but they have to provide for that. Again, this is something that you've approved in the past. There's no significant deviations from that previous approval. The information, again, is included in your packet, including their request, and the resolution is on page 88 of your packet.
Questions or discussion? I always like to point out, just to be transparent, that I'm an employee of Gustavus Adolphus College. I don't have any involvement in the alumni office. I'm not part of that office or a part of this request, but I'd just like to be transparent about that. If there's no further discussion, the resolution approving city assistance for a Gustavus Adolphus College alumni community event is on pages 88 through 89 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Weisenfeld,
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom,
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos,
Aye.
Mayor Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Next up, a resolution approving a request for city assistance for Ambassadors Blues Fest.
Mayor members, this too is a request that you've received previously from the ambassadors for use of Minnesota Square Park and some of the facilities and picnic tables and a bunch of different things. As with all these requests, they're required to have the appropriate level of insurance, which is $1.5 million, and we provide them with certain levels of assistance. Again, picnic tables, gates to or keys to certain entries, access to supplies, a bunch of different things as a part of this. This would provide for their event, which is to occur on June 8th of this year. Happy to answer any questions that you might have. Their request is included here, as is the resolution on page 94.
All right, questions for Todd or any discussion? Hearing nothing, the resolution approving a request for city assistance for Ambassadors Blues Fest is on pages 94 through 95 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Sharpston.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Next up, a resolution approving a request for city assistance for the 4th of July event.
Mayor and members, this is the same request that you've seen now for over 30 years, very similar to the two previous requests, specifically the one just previous for Blues Fest. It includes Minnesota Square Park, picnic tables, all kinds of different things, including insurance. This request, however, is made by the Chamber of Commerce, as it's been made for, again, more than 30 years. Information is included in your packet, including the request letter from them. No significant changes from previous years, and the resolution is on page 99.
Questions or discussion? Hearing nothing, the resolution authorizing city assistance for 4th of July event is on pages 99 through 100 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Councilmember Sharpston.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. We have a resolution approving a request for city assistance for Minnesota Original Music Festival event.
Mayor and members, this is made by the not-for-profit Minnesota Original Music Festival organizers. This is for Minnesota Square Park, July 15th through the 21st. This has changed a little bit over the past few years based on growth of this event, and it includes using the pavilion, Minnesota Square Park, electricity, picnic tables, all the normal things that you see for festival events of this type. They're also required to have the appropriate insurance, which you require, and show licenses and all those things. Again, Madam Mayor, I'm happy to answer any questions that folks might have, but I would also add that if folks can't find something just fantastically fun to do this summer in St. Peter, they have not been looking very hard because you have lots of events that are going on, this being one of them. Again, I'm happy to answer any questions that the council may have to the best of my ability.
Brad?
So yeah, I do have a question. Yeah, just on one of the lines, one of the requests is overnight security by St. Peter Police Reserve.
Yeah, and so you'll see within the resolution that that is not provided. Even though they're kind of cutting and pasting on their application, that isn't provided. We do not have a reserve, the folks to be able to do that anymore, so they have to provide their own security, and that's with all of these that we're visiting about. Great question, though. Thank you.
And additional questions? Hearing no further questions or discussion, the resolution approving a request for city assistance for Minnesota Original Music Festival event is on page 108 through 109 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Councilmember Sharpston.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Moving on to a resolution approving a request for city assistance for Ride Across America event.
Mayor members, this starts on page 110, and this is not an annual request, but normally about every 4 to 6 years we see a request from this group. You may have heard us refer to this as the TRAM event. It is now called the RAM event, but it is the same organizers and the same type of event. Again, request for utilization of Minnesota Square Park. A lot of different other things will be going on as a part of this activity, including the use of picnic tables and others. This one may be a little bit more unique compared to the others in that it allows for overnight camping of approximately 100 tents in Minnesota Square Park. So it is a little bit different. It does provide a little bit different flavor for the neighborhood and at least the level of activity that's going on overnight there. This group has worked well with Public Works and the Police Department in the past. The recommendation is to approve the request really from Wednesday, July 24th through Friday, July 26th. Again, insurance, porta potties, all those types of things that we normally talk about would be provided by the group. One other item that I want to note that differentiates this from other activities in that they are requesting use of the community center if there is inclement weather. I want to provide a little bit of additional definition to that. That isn't if it's just raining. We got to have a serious storm for them to come inside. So if it's sprinkling or raining, that doesn't mean we're opening the community center for anybody and everybody. This really is driven by a need for emergency shelter. So I wanted to make sure that that was clear as a part of this activity and request going forward. Again, the information is included in your packet. I'm happy to do my best to follow up with any questions or suggestions you might have, but the resolution starts on page 114.
Questions for Todd? Hearing no further questions or discussion, the resolution approving city assistance for the Ride Across America RAM event is on page 114 through 115 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye. The resolution is approved. Our last item of new business tonight is a resolution entering into automatic dispatch agreement with the city of Nicollet.
Mayor and members, I'm sure you've read the information included in here. I would suggest that you think about this agreement as automating the system that is likely to occur currently. So if a 911 call comes in and it is outside of your service territory but is within a specific area of Nicollet and the Nicollet territory, and it's a structure fire, that rather than waiting for a call for mutual aid, which would be the regular process, your fire department will be automatically dispatched. So 911 services would dispatch the St. Peter Fire Department very shortly after they dispatch the Nicollet Fire Department, and we'd automatically respond. I can't tell you how many this necessarily would be because it varies widely from year to year, and this does not include the entire Nicollet territory. It only includes a portion. You'll see that other communities are doing the same thing in an effort to assist the Nicollet Fire Department and your greater community. Again, I'm happy to try and answer any questions that you might have on this. This is something that, at least from my perspective and with my peers in local units of government, we see more and more of these types of requests as more rural fire departments continue to struggle to maintain service levels, the number of firefighters necessary. Or think of it this way, the number of firefighters that are in town during the day because they might work in other communities, those are significant stressors on smaller fire departments. And so St. Peter has had a tradition, certainly before the tornado, but even more certainly after the tornado. We help when we can. We try and pay it forward or pay it back depending on your perspective. And so this is one of those opportunities. Happy to answer any questions that you might have, Mayor members.
Sure, any questions or discussion?
I assume the answer is yes, but we have a sufficient number of firefighters and equipment to handle the additional calls.
We do, and this does not guarantee a certain level of service. So if something would happen, so let's say we were on another structure fire in town and there wasn't enough service equipment, horsepower, manpower to be able to cover that, that would be something that would be communicated through the process, and then there would be a mutual aid call to maybe it's North Mankato or Lafayette or whomever is next up within that line.
Okay. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing nothing, the resolution entering into automatic dispatch agreement with the city of Nicollet is on page 123 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Moving on to reports, report from the mayor. My only report at this time is to thank everybody who participated in the planning for the Memorial Day program on Monday. A lot of heart, a lot of hard work goes into the putting together a program like that, and they do a wonderful job. It's very meaningful, and so just want to extend my thanks to everyone involved. We'll move on to council member reports. Is there any council member who'd like to make a report at this time? Hearing none, we'll move on to report from the city administrator.
Members, Mayor and members, I have 3 items listed as a part of this. The first is the active transportation plan report. I'm hoping not to talk about that too much and allow Pete to visit about that. Ben also participated in this, but Pete's team did the organization for this, and I think a couple of you might have participated, and then Pete will highlight the one that's coming up, I think, too.
Right, we actually have 2 active transportation plan events going on. We have the South 3rd Street and we have the South Front Street, and so we kind of combined a little bit of those activities. On Tuesday last week, Ben was kind enough to take the engineering team around town, kind of show them how we are set up for walkability, rollability, and for biking, and pointed out a few things along the way, made for great discussion. On Wednesday, we did walking and biking audits for South 3rd Street. If you remember, on Tuesday night, we had the heavy downpours, and that was when we scheduled the walking tour, so we quickly retreated on that issue and waited until Wednesday, accomplished that. Actually did a couple different walking tours along that process. The biking tour was led by Mark Plotz, our local bike advocate, and he took our crew around town. I think there was about, do you remember, Ben, how many miles that was altogether? Was it like 8.7? Something in that neighborhood there, and I was, of course, the emergency backup tail driving truck person, and so everybody survived. I didn't have to pull anybody over and put them in the vehicle until we got to the top of the Gustavus Hill, and then that was when we had to take some action. But besides that, it was very enlightening as far as the cruise and how we saw things, and Mark pointed out some of the activities that go on there. A lot of visual observation. Then, of course, on Wednesday evening, we had a workshop that talked about just different opportunities that are out there for some of our 3rd Street issues. A lot of great feedback, a lot of glad to see that our elected officials were able to participate on that level and talk with some of our engineering team there as well. And then Thursday, we put together a demonstration project, or some ideas for one. We come up with 3 intersections that we're looking at doing some work on, and our engineers, which were Terrasoma out of Washington and HDR out of Des Moines, Iowa, are going to put that information together, and then we're going to come back and talk to the council in June to give you an idea what we're trying to accomplish there. Even though one of our main areas was looking at slowing vehicles down a little bit on 3rd Street. You know, as you guys know, it's very wide down there. We're looking at some other activities as far as community gathering spots along the route, better pedestrian crossings to improve safety, improving bike access to some of that area on South 3rd. But we'll bring that back and we'll talk to you about that in June. The final issue was on South Front Street. We did a walking audit with Alta Engineering, and we had some good participation from South Front Street, even though a lot of the citizens didn't get the letter until after the event was over. So we made sure that this time, when we continue our workshop and demonstration ideas on June 5th, they have received another letter, hopefully this week, if not yesterday, today, or tomorrow. We'll have everybody participate there. We did have good feedback from a lot of the customers along the line who saw it on either the city website or on the chamber's website. And so that'll continue, and that'll be on June 5th. You should have a little note on your table there for that. And that's what I have for you.
Thanks, Pete.
Questions?
Wow, you and your team, I mean, a lot of people in the city have done a lot of work on this, so thank you so much.
Yep, you're welcome.
All right.
Next on my list, Madam Mayor and members, is just a reminder about summer office hours, primarily at City Hall. And then at other offices, including Public Works, not at the community center. The community center will be generally 8 to 5 during the summer, but for the rest, it will be 7:30 to 5 Monday through Thursday, and then 7:30 to noon on Fridays. This is an experiment related to summer hours, and this will last through really that end of August, but want you to be aware. And we'll be listening to you and to the community and what employees say and how does it work and does it give people in the morning, maybe before they go to work, a little opportunity if they need to stop by and pay something. You know, so many of your folks are stopping by or it's being done virtually now. But it's a great experiment for us, so we're taking it in that vein. The last one that I have is just to promote MRVT, which stands for Minnesota River Valley Transit. Youth Summer Fairs will start next week. So kids can ride the bus for $1. So you might have your 12-year-old that you want to send to the pool, give them $1. Well, $2. I mean, $1 to get to the pool, $1 back to get home. We'd hope for that. But $1 fares start with MRVT. And so we're excited. It's a program that we've offered for a long time. And it's not just here in St. Peter, but that's also in the city of Le Sueur for youth and kids. Madam Mayor, that's the last report that I have tonight, although I do have a request, which is in the last page of your packet, for a closed session related to real estate at 107 West Nassau.
All right, we do have that resolution. As Todd said, it's on page 124 of the packet. If we will not return to open session to do any business, and so we'll only return to open session to adjourn.
That's correct, Madam Mayor.
So, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
The resolution is approved, so we will close our open session at 8:16 p.m. And we'll move downstairs to the Traverse Dessous.
Yes.
Yes.
Traverse
Is it-
Dessous room?
Is it Traverse Dessous?
Thank
Yep.
you very
All
much,
right.
Keisha.